Hey y'all, it's Charles. In the last episode, we covered Salesforce platform basics, starting off the admin beginner trail in the Salesforce Trailhead. In this episode, we're going to cover data modeling. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so in this episode, in this video, we're just going to continue right where we left off in the admin beginner trail. So last series of videos, we covered Salesforce platform basics. Okay, so last series of videos, we covered Salesforce platform basics. And I had you do this Power Up Exchange with App Exchange one by yourself. In this video, this series of videos, we're going to get into data modeling. We've actually already covered some of this in the last episode. We've already learned about some objects and fields and that kind of thing. So let's get into it. Let's go through the learning objectives. Describe the perks of using objects on the Salesforce platform, the customizability, customization capabilities, lots of things you can do there, and lots of automation and everything that comes with the Salesforce platform that we covered in the last episode we can do. And we'll see more of that in the coming videos. Explain the difference between standard objects and custom objects. Standard objects are the objects that come with Salesforce, like right out of the box. You have accounts, contacts, leads, opportunities, cases, contracts, solutions. We'll go ahead and open up our Trailhead Playground because we're going to get into this challenge after we go through this one. Go ahead and open this up. I'm going to do my little double window thing that I like to do. Alright, so you see here, these are the custom objects that come right out of the box. Campaigns, contacts, accounts, tasks, files, leads, opportunities, all this stuff. And then we can create custom ones. Blah, blah, blah. I'll leave you to read that by yourself. We're just going to do the part where it asks us to create things. So create a custom object here. Scroll to the bottom of this page. Okay, we launched our Trailhead Playground. Now we want to create a custom object called properties, and it wants us to create a tab for it as well. Okay, so we're going to create this custom object real quick called property or properties. So to do that, remember we have to go to this little gear icon, go to setup, and this is where we can create and manage our objects with this object manager in Lightning. Okay, so here's the objects we already have in our org, and we want to create one. So all you do is come over here, click create custom object, and anything you create is a custom object. Anything that's not standard, that doesn't come with Salesforce right out of the box, is a custom object. So anything you create, that's what it is. So right here, it just asks us for my window's really small. All right. So this is the name we're going to call it. So we want to call it property. And this just asks us the plural name, properties. And it wanted us to, I like to turn these on so we can report on it and stuff. It doesn't tell you to do that, but I like to turn those on. I like to allow the search, and it told us to do this, launch new custom tab wizard, which just allows us to create one of these tabs up here for the object. So it's not just in the background, it's really easy to access. Okay, so let's go ahead and hit save. And we need to select a tab style. And these really don't matter, they're just friendly icons that go along with the name to give you a little bit of a visual. Not really important, but since we're talking about properties, I think there's a real estate flag on here or something. So let's see if we can find that. Or if we see like a house or a map or something. Real estate sign. Okay. Click that one. Oh yeah, so this is going to be on the exam, or at least it was on my exam. See this right here under compass, how it has a 1 next to it? You can see when I hover over it, like this, it says that it's being used on another tab. So it's being used on the welcome tab. And if it's being used on another object, it'll say what object it's being used on there too. So just be aware that you can attach these little friendly icons to your tabs, which represent your objects in most cases. And if it's being used anywhere else, this little number next to it just tells you how many places it's being used. All right, so that was just some weird little nitpicky thing that was on my exam. But it's a pretty easy point to get if you get that question. That is good. All right, let's see. Here we are. All right, so we created custom object, gave it the real estate sign, and remember just hit next through all this stuff. These are visibility options. So it's gonna, later we'll get into profiles and visibility and field access and object access and all that stuff. For now, we're just gonna skip through those and hit save. All right, so there's our custom object property. You can see it's there. And if we go to our object manager, you can see it right there, property. So we created the custom object. Let's go ahead and continue through this. Tells us about some different field types, and now it's going to have us create a custom field and then create a property record. So remember in the last episode I was talking about how objects are basically like folders with a label on them. So we just created a folder labeled property, and you can see it if we get out of setup. Right now we're still in setup. This is our app launcher. This is kind of how you get back to what your users see. I usually just go to the sales app because it has a lot of stuff. Okay, so I don't see it up here. We might not have had it add to the sales app. Okay. There it is. It's on this one. The service app. You see, this is our service app because it says service here, and properties right there. Not important at the moment. I was just showing you that there is a tab here now. So it's like our properties folder, and it's going to be empty because we haven't created any yet. So in a second, after we create our fields, it's going to have us create a property. So right now, all that's on here is property name. So we're going to create a field, which is going to be another box on here for us to fill out when we create properties. So let's go see what it wants us to make. Okay, property object we just created is pretty bare bones. Yeah, it only has one field, or it has more than that, but there's only one box for us to actually fill out. So it wants us to create a field called, or of the currency type called price, and then give it a description. Okay, so to create a field, you go same way you create an object, go to setup. Whenever you create stuff, it's in setup, unless you're creating a record. All right, so then let's go to object manager, and we need to find our property object because we want to create the field on the property object. Go to fields and relationships, and then you just hit new. Okay, so remember this is where we select our field type. And we went through some of these last time. Remember we had the number field, the date field, the currency field, the checkbox field, the pick list field, we went over that one, and these text fields, and there's a few other ones, but this challenge wants us to create a currency type field. So I selected currency, go ahead and hit next, and it wants us to call it price. So we type in price for the name, and now's a pretty good time, I guess, to go over what these mean. So length is how many characters are going to be in this currency field. So how many characters long can it be? So right now, this is 18. This is easier to explain with an example. So if I had length 1, I could only make the maximum price $9 because I only have one character. So I'm limited to one little character space to determine the price. Yeah, so, and actually this is to the left of the decimal point. And right now I have 0 decimal places. So this tells us how many decimal places we can go to the right. So maybe we want to go 2 because with prices, it usually has 2 decimal places to the right. And with properties, it might not have any decimal places. It might just be whole dollar amounts. But for this example, number of digits to the right of the decimal point, we have 2 digits and we have 1 digit to the left. So we can make it $9.99. That's the max price we can make this property right now, or max price that we could put in this price field. So for a property, you might get up into the millions or something. So we'll go ahead and leave this at 18 characters. Might be overkill, but that's what we're going to do. And we'll just go ahead and leave this at 0. You don't have to do any of that. I just wanted to explain it, what those meant. Okay, so it told us to give us it told us to give this field a description of the listed sales price of the home. So this just describes to people later that come into your org, this is sales price of the home. This is a good way to kind of leave notes for other people that set up your org or use your org. If they don't know what a field means, they can look at the description to tell exactly what this field is doing. So this says the listed sales price of the home. The name just says price. So someone might come in and be like, the price of what? The price of rent, the price of the sale price, the price of the garage door. Like, this tells you sales price of the home, if anybody ever questioned that. Okay, so we did that, gave it a description, made a field. Remember, just go ahead and hit next through all these. Okay, so you see our price field is there. And now, if we go back to this service app where we saw our property object, here it is here. Let's open it up. And if we create a new one, you can see prices here now. We just created this field. All right, so now it says it wants us to... so it actually wanted us to check the required box. So right now you can see that this has a star next to it, this property name. So I have to fill out that field to save the record. If I hit save, it says review the errors. These required fields must be completed. Property name, which is this field, and it's got this little asterisk next to it, which means you have to fill it out. So price doesn't have to be filled out. So I could just call this property like Awesome Mansion and save it. And then if we go back into our properties folder, you can see I've got one property called Awesome Mansion, but it doesn't have a price because it didn't make me fill out price. So if we click on it, we're in the Awesome Mansion record now. The price is empty because it wasn't required. So it wants us to, we forgot to do this. We forgot to check the required box. So we have to go find that field again, which is going to be in setup. And then we're going to go to Object Manager. Find our property object. Find the price field. And then we're going to edit it to check this checkbox. You got to hit edit to actually do that. Okay, and then right here where it says required, just check that box, which means you have to fill out that field to save a record. All right, now let's go back and check it out. Let's go back to our service app. Go to our